Hello, this is CJ Radune of RotoWire.com for your Formula One update here on the Prime Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our motorsports videos all season long, including NASCAR, IndyCar, which is done for the season, and Formula One. You can access my columns by clicking the link in the description of this video. And if you have any questions or comments, as always, please feel free to let me know what is on your mind. So this week we are heading toward the Formula One Qatar Airways Qatar Grand Prix. However, as always, we have to take a look at what happened last time out. And last time out, we were at Japan and order was restored in Japan, and all is right with the Formula One world again. Max Verstappen and Red Bull returned to their normal spot atop the finishing order, and Verstappen grabbed that win over Lando Norris by nearly 20 seconds, which quite honestly is what we've been used to seeing here in 2023. So that victory actually led Red Bull to clinch the Constructors' title. So that was great for them, a big celebration that is arguably the most important one for every Formula One season, and Red Bull got that wrapped up. It does leave Max in prime position to do the same with the driver's title this weekend at Qatar, though. So very interesting times indeed for him, especially when he seems to be at his best, or at least returning to his best here after Japan. So second on the weekend, it was clearly McLaren. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri qualified second and third, and they went on to finish in those spots too. The only difference actually was that Norris made it past Piastri to claim second. And that step forward just further illustrates that battle for second among the constructors coming to a head. McLaren was outpaced by Ferrari at Singapore, but they fought back in Japan and grabbed those top two podium steps. So watch this battle. We're going to be watching it very closely here over the next couple of weeks as it starts to heat up or continues heating up. And it looks like it could actually go all the way down to the end of the season. So Ferrari, another player in that battle for second in the constructors, for their part, they landed fourth with Leclerc, but Carlos Sainz lost out to Lewis Hamilton and finished sixth, which was actually right where he started. So all in all, Japan was a return to normalcy after the shock of Red Bull's failure at Singapore. I think that just delayed Max Verstappen's championship by a week, though, and it put him within reach of his third driver's title regardless. So definitely going to be watching that as we go forward. But what was the biggest surprise? Japan, for me, it's the extended downturn of Aston Martin. They've just failed to develop that car throughout the season. The upgrades that they have brought have not helped them catch back up either. So Fernando Alonso, he's definitely a top driver, a veteran, and he is no doubt providing critical feedback for that car development, but they're not making any gains on the other teams, not making gains like the other teams either. And they've just completely lost that early season advantage. With only flyaway races left for the rest of the season, this team, I think, is going to be the first one to end up throwing in the towel on their 2023 car to start focusing on 2024. Just a couple of weeks ago, if you remember, it was me predicting that Ferrari would be in that position, but they've really stepped it up and left Aston Martin in the dust along with McLaren with that 2-3 finish in Japan. So keep an eye on Aston Martin, see what they're able to do, see if Fernando Alonso is allowed to able to wring a little bit more out of that car this weekend in Qatar. And that is what is happening this week. Everything is new at Qatar, and we are going to the Qatar Grand Prix. So let's go ahead and take a look at those odds. The Lusail International Circuit, it returns for its lone Formula One, from its lone Formula One race, I should say, back in 2021. The circuit has agreed to a 10-year deal with Formula One, so it's going to become a regular stop on the calendar starting with this weekend, but it's the first time the Formula One teams will have been here in 2 years. It is a natural terrain road course, and it was originally built to host Qatar's first ever MotoGP race. That's the motorcycles, for those of you who aren't familiar. Formula One tried it out in 2021, and that afternoon evening, this race is actually in the evening, it was Lewis Hamilton who led every single lap on his way to win. Verstappen, he started seventh, and he climbed to second by the finish, and he took fastest lap along the way. So that sets up a very interesting race this weekend. And many things make this weekend a new venture for the teams, despite having raced there in 2021. First, that last race was under the old rules package. So we have new cars, we have 2 years of development on that new rules package, and that's a whole set of new questions as to how those cars are going to work at this track. And also, the circuit was completely repaved since that last race. So that's another huge unknown. And those unknowns are what we're going to be watching all this weekend. And they're going to be very important because this is a sprint weekend too. So what things are we following this weekend? Well, we are absolutely on championship watch. Max Verstappen, as I mentioned, he's right in there. Will he be able to capture his third driver's title? I think he will. The question is whether he's going to do it Saturday or Sunday. As I mentioned, this is a sprint race weekend. A sixth place finish on Saturday in that sprint race, that would get the job done for him. And that seems highly probable too. So Lusail's mostly medium high-speed turns, coupled with its long front straight, that sets up a really easy afternoon for the powerful Red Bull car and Max Verstappen. And that is actually where we're going to go next in terms of the sprint weekend. So given that it's a new track, basically, haven't been there for 2 years, haven't been there with these cars, and it's a new surface, sprint weekend is going to raise a lot of havoc. These short Saturday races, they haven't often produced the greatest results on Sundays. Teams will work hard to maximize the track time, or actually they have to work hard to maximize that track time on Friday just to get through their programs in order to prepare for Sunday. You'll remember sprint race weekends, Saturdays are all about that sprint race, and they're really standalone events, and those results don't generally impact anything on Sunday. So teams will have to get off to best foot possible in Friday's practice and get qualified for Sunday's race. Sure, they'll learn a lot through Saturday, but given parc fermé conditions and the fact that they already qualified, it's going to be really hard for them to make any significant adjustments if for whatever reason they miss the mark. So anyone looking to wager this weekend probably needs to make their choices for Sunday now, because those odds are going to change dramatically after Saturday gives everybody a preview as to what's going to occur on Sunday. And basically for all the teams, whatever you end with on Friday is likely going to be what you end with on Sunday as well, just because Saturday being that standalone format. Again, not a fan of the sprint race weekends. There are a number of drivers that aren't fans either, so we'll watch how this plays out at this circuit that's really going to be a challenge for the teams. And that's our third thing that we're watching, the Qatari unknowns. The track configuration is about the only thing that is known after the 2021 race, but mostly everything else is different. And complicating that is the fact that it is the sprint weekend. They have only that one practice to dial in those settings. It's going to be a huge challenge. And quite honestly, if they face any setbacks, it's going to be very detrimental to their success. So like I said, though, the format, or at least the configuration of the Lusail circuit, that has not changed. Only the pavement is different. Even still, that is a big change, and we have all new cars. But as I said, the Lusail circuit, medium high-speed corners, a long, over a kilometer front straight, that all plays into Max Verstappen and Red Bull's hands. So if we take a look at those odds, yeah, Max Verstappen, easily the favorite, clearly again, and with good reason as well. But if you look at second there for Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, the question about Sergio Perez is whether or not he can actually finish second like he needs to be. With that car, you'd expect him to be finishing second every week, and we've talked about that before. He does it for a couple weeks at a time, but just not consistently. So I'm cautious over Perez again this weekend. Japan was not good for him. Lando Norris, and then either of the Ferraris are probably going to be your best bets. And quite honestly, this weekend, it'd be hard to choose one of the Ferraris. In fact, if you want to choose Ferrari as an upset to Red Bull, I'd actually probably take them as a team bet. I think it's easier or more likely to get Ferrari as a team bet for win over Red Bull versus trying to choose Charles Leclerc or Carlos Sainz individually. Again, Red Bull, Max Verstappen, hands down the favorites. They would be the top choice regardless. But if you're going to go contrarian, I would suggest going with Ferrari as the team. Similarly, with a track like this and Red Bull's power, you're going to want to go with the finishing margin of over 10 seconds. Obviously not a great payout, but if you're going to go contrarian to that one, maybe the second best would be the between 5 and 10 seconds. You never know what's going to end up at the end of the race. If there's a safety car period, if Max wraps up the title on Saturday, he can only go for absolutely win and fastest lap, the Grand Slam on Sunday. So perhaps he makes the last minute dash into the pits for fresh tires to go for that fastest lap. Maybe that between the 5 to 10 seconds gamble, maybe that starts coming into play at that point. So again, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen, the favorite. If you're going to go contrarian, I would go with Ferrari as a team. And then as far as safety cars go, I would go with the contrarian as well and take the no better payout. There were no cautions in this race back in 2021, and we'll hope for the same here again on Sunday. So remember, sprint race weekend, Friday is going to be all important for the teams. For Sunday's results, Max Verstappen, Red Bull, they are poised to give Max his third consecutive championship. And it's going to be fun to watch that second place battle as it heats up. And I think Ferrari has the edge right now, but McLaren, boy, did they fight back in Japan. I'm going to go with Ferrari this weekend for Qatar, though, as second behind that Red Bull choice. I just think Ferrari is working hard, so we'll see how it all plays out this weekend at Qatar. Again, I'm CJ Radune from RotoWire.com, here for the Prime Sports Network. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of the motorsports videos all season long. And that includes NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. And you can access my columns by clicking the link in the description. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know what's on your mind. Until next time, keep it out of the fence.